Welcome, everybody, to the Secrets About Men Summit. What men wish you knew, but will never tell you. I'm Susanne Oshima, and I'm a matchmaker and dating coach at Dream Bachelor and Bachelorette, and I'm also the founder of Single and Stilettos. Today, we have on the summit Greg Michelson, and I'm so excited to have him here today because today we're talking about to date a man, you must understand a man. And he's going to tell us the 5 things that you ladies really need to understand about men. But before we jump into it, I would love for you to know a little bit more about Greg. So Greg is Boston's top dating and life coach. He is a multiple #1 best-selling author on Amazon in the dating advice genre. Greg's greatest thrill, however, comes from his work in helping women better understand men. His collection of dating advice books for women are designed to help women not only understand men better, but to understand themselves better. Greg enjoys interacting with his readers through his books and his coaching services. He loves hearing about how women win their men back and take their lives back through his advice. So, Greg, welcome. I'm so excited to have you here.
How you doing, Suzanne? I'm happy to be here. I'm excited.
I know, because, and ladies, he's not kidding. He's the #1 best-selling author on several books. And when I went to his site, I was like, wow, these are great books, but we can't cover them all. But I thought the one that would resonate best with my audience, and I know the ladies really want to know, is how to understand men better. So, Greg, let's just jump into it. Tell us the first thing that women really need to understand about men better.
Okay, so let's get into it. This is exciting. So to start off, I think it's important that women understand what goes into a man's DNA, if you will, okay? And it's really comes down to a list of, a whole bunch of things, but we're going to just stick to the, to the main ones. And I call this in the book, chapter 2, the conveyor belt to manhood. And I just picture all the ingredients going into our man. And it's very important for women to understand. Okay, but not only understand, accept. That's a big difference. And that's where I'll get my lower reviews when people say, they've never tried what I'm trying to tell you. But when they accept, and this list of things isn't always things that I'm proud of. And when I say me, I'm talking for thousands of men. This is innate to men and not just me speaking, just to be clear.
Okay.
But let's go down the list. Winning. Let's start with this. Winning. Winning is one of the most important things to a man, and women don't really realize just how important winning is. And when you realize how important it is, you'll see why the opposite, rejection and losing, is very hurtful on a huge level. And you really need to understand that, and that'll help you communicate with us, later, but we'll get into that later. Competition. With winning comes competition. We want to win, and that doesn't mean our football team necessarily. That means the job, the raise. We want to drive a better car. We're taught to be better than the next guy. That's how our status, which leads me to another one. Money and status is hugely important. And when we don't have money, we don't have status, we have a hard time providing. And again, that's huge in our DNA. And women sometimes don't understand how important that is. They'll take a guy in, pay for his room and board, help him through college or whatever he's going through trying to get a job, and then all of a sudden he'll disappear because he gets emasculated. So that's important to understand.
Is it true? I'm sorry, Greg, but is it true? Because I've heard this before, is that a man, he can date you if he's not winning in his job or like how you talked about money, but he's not going to be able to ask you to marry him unless he's financially secure as a provider. Is that true? That's
a great question. It's a great question. And he will tell you differently. I mean, he will say, it's okay for you to help me out. And don't get me wrong, it's okay to help a man out on a temporary basis.
Right.
But if he's moved in and he has no job, he's a couch potato, obviously you don't want to date this type of guy, but he needs that feeling of having money, and because money is status. And if he can't provide, he has a hard time loving. And it's funny, Suzanne, because people will, women will come to me, every day I'll get the email and they'll say, Craig, I don't know what I'm doing wrong. And I'll ask them the question, like you're saying, I'll ask them the question, what's going on in his life? And it doesn't have to be money. It doesn't have to be his job. It could be a death in the family. It could be something going on at work. It could be something else that leads him to his withdrawal and man cave, if you will. And but it's important to know that it might not be your fault. And I'll start right off the bat and I'll ask what is going on with your significant other's life, and she'll tell me all these bad things, and I'll say, you know what, like you say, it might not be you. It might be his inability to provide, or being depressed, or alcohol, drugs that he can't love. Right. And so that is very significant. Money and status, even though it sounds shallow, I know it sounds shallow. I'll get that. Well, Greg, that's shallow. But I'm not always proud of how we are. But that's really one of the big things.
Well, it's how men are wired, basically, is what you're saying.
It's how we're wired. And I know this, I talk about it, to manhood. I mean, I know it's in our younger years, we're wired like this. Like you and I talked earlier about it, we have blue rooms with scary animals, and women have pink rooms with, fun stuff,
Mm-hmm.
It's just, so this is in our DNA, and it continues. I mean, it doesn't just stop. It continues into our, mature years. And other things also. It's the perceived freedom. Now that's a weird one.
What is that? Perceived freedom?
Because it's like a midlife crisis type of thing. That would be, you can always relate to something back on this list, but a man, even in a relationship, needs to have this, I call it perceived freedom, where, oh yeah, okay, he's married, he's got kids and all, but he still thinks he's, able to go golfing, on Sunday. I mean, there's nothing that hurts a man more when his buddy comes into town and wants to go out on a Saturday night, and the guy can't answer the phone, or he won't answer the phone because he doesn't have, the balls, to tell him, sorry, my wife, my girlfriend, I just can't do it. So I always teach, and here's a little secret to get ahead, but, I always teach women, so you've got to give a guy that perceived freedom. And you should. You should have your social network over here, let him have his, and let him go. Now, I'm not talking 2 weeks in Vegas here, I'm talking golf on Sundays every now and then. Let him go out with his friends, as you should go with your friends. And then he feels like he can go out with his guys and say, see, I'm here.
Yeah, and I agree. I mean, I've always said that, is that a guy should have his guys' night out, no matter if you're boyfriend and girlfriend, married or whatever. And we as women should have our girls' night out.
Right.
And then that way, correct me if I'm right or wrong, Greg, is that then a guy also doesn't feel smothered or feel like he's being controlled too.
Exactly. And that leads me right into one of my biggest secrets right here, is you never make your guy your hobby. Now think about that. And that fits right into how a man doesn't feel like he's got freedom. And I've had past relationships, and 10 years ago, I was with this wonderful woman. She did everything for me, and she just made me her hobby. She was just there for me so much. And what am I to do? What is a guy to do? Say, Suzanne, excuse me, can you, go find a hobby and give me some space? I mean, that's not going to fly,
Right.
So I always say, you never make a guy your hobby. You participate in his hobbies, have him participate in your hobbies, have hobbies together, but don't make him your hobby. And that's a very interesting concept when you think about it. And a guy, which is even tougher, a guy will almost want you to be his hobby, especially in the early relationship. He'll say, oh, no, stay over, or stay the weekend, or, he'll almost push for you. And a high value woman, I always say a high value woman will always keep her hobbies, her passions, her social network out there, and just keep them right at the top. Okay, to me, even above him sometimes. But and a guy loves that. It gives him that perceived freedom, if you will. And then it kicks in other things on my list that I mentioned. Challenge. Now there's a little challenge. I'm out golfing with my friends, and I know you're with your girlfriends at some beach concert or something. And now I'm a little mystery. It's like, who's she with? What I miss her. Suddenly my playing golf isn't as much fun as what you're up to.
Right.
So these are and women will say, well, Greg, I don't want to play a game. And I always say this. Life is a game. Relationships are a game. And I always say, the more you know how to play it with men and understand, the less you have to play games. And you'll laugh at this. I mean, when I see the couple, the 80-year-old couple walking in the park, okay, they're holding hands, okay, they're done with the games. And I will literally run up to them, usually get maced in the process. But after I get through that, my eyes tearing up. I love talking to them.
Mm-hmm.
They've been through it all, and
right.
and they have wonderful stories to tell, and yeah. So there's a big one, but. So that list of things that I gave you. Oh, and then my last one on that list is when we're little, when we're growing up, we're taught to sleep with as many women as we can. Okay. Again, I'm not proud of this, but that's how we were compared to our peers. If you're the guy that slept with a lot of women, now granted, we all said we slept with a lot of women, but we didn't because
right.
But that was perceived to be a good thing. So you have to take these things, and when you start to relate to a man, and I call it man mode,
mm-hmm.
Everything we do will come off that list in one way or the other. And when you start to accept and understand this list, it's not even a game, you can communicate to a guy in such a way you'll get what you want, but you just have to frame it. I always say our minds are so simple. Yours are so, you're so intelligent.
We're complicated is what you're trying to say. Women are complicated. We know.
Right. But, and it's true, but you guys seem to treat us, like your girlfriends, very complicated. And I always say, and, you get a laugh out of it, your brains are this big and our brains are somewhere around the squirrel or the mouse. But when you relate to us, like a man, and this man mode is the equivalent to looking at his best guy friend and saying, how does he get more attention than I do? They touch in a physical, they don't have sex, obviously, but they physically touch each other all the time and pat each other on the back. And they want to be together. What am I doing wrong? And basically this man mode that I'm talking about puts you in that situation. So a lot of these things can be answered by saying, what would his best friend do? And his best friend wouldn't say, I want to talk. I want to sit down and find out where we're going. His best friend would say exactly what's on his mind and leave the room. And try doing that to your significant other when he's used to leaving the room. And he'll be shocked, I'll guarantee it, and he'll want to talk.
Well, that's true. But I just have to add a comment to what you said about when women say, I need to talk. And Greg, can you just tell the ladies, because I've done interviews about this exact topic before, and how it's honestly the worst thing you could ever say to a man is, we need to talk, because all he thinks is, oh my God, what did I do wrong? And his defenses go up.
It's exactly true. It's the way you communicate to another woman. And I understand that. I totally get it. But we don't get that. It does not compute. We don't want to talk. And a lot of the time, your actions are so much better than talking. Okay. So I guess an example is in order here. if I'm in a relationship and, let's say the sex has fallen off a little bit, he's spending a lot of time, we'll use me. I'm spending a lot of time with my, with my friends, and women will call me and say, Greg, my husband's spending all this time and all, what can I do? And this is how you handle it. Instead of saying we need to talk or complaining about not spending enough time, what you do is don't even get mad. Just say, hey, Greg, go ahead. Have fun with your friends, watch the game. I'm going to go grab, meet Jenny and her friends and, go see her. Now, all of a sudden, the guy, he was ready for a battle here about, okay, I can't go anywhere here. But instead, he gets support for you going to see your friends. And the key is you're not staying home here. You're going to see your friends, all about having that social network. So now we've just changed what would have been the talk, like you say, into actions that basically he just did to you and you were doing back to him. So now when I'm with my friends, I am wondering, again, challenge, mystery, I'm wondering where you are. I'm missing you. I have this perceived freedom, which now I don't really like, and Suzanne, it's so funny because women will say, Greg, it cannot be that simple. And I'm saying, it is. Just try it. Try a few things. And in my book, you'll get, lots of examples and stuff like that. And when they do, they come back and like I got 400 reviews on this, 4.5 star, 400 reviews, and you'll see them. It's like, oh my God, I did it and it worked.
Well, and I could testify. I've done stuff like that and it does work. It's true. When you turn the tables, and it's otherwise, if you do it the way we women think you should do it, then we back the man into the corner and then he feels like he doesn't want to do what you're trying to tell him.
Exactly. And a lot of it is the timing too. The timing is also very, usually comes into play at the worst moment. It's during the conflict or right before the conflict that a woman will want to challenge the guy's actions, and that's never good. If you're going to challenge, and you should, a high-value woman challenges guys, but I always say you should do it when you're getting along, when you're apple picking and drinking wine and having fun. Of course, that's the last time anyone wants to talk. A woman wants to talk because you're getting along. This is a precious, moment. But so the timing comes down a lot to that also. So let me jump. I'll jump to my next one here.
Okay.
And secret little tip here. How we love. Men love, another chapter, men love in different ways. And I think this is important here because I get this question 3 times a day. Women will expect a guy to say, I love you. She'll expect a guy to text back every time she texts him during the day. Like, honey, what are you up to? How you doing? And again, it comes down to, we don't communicate, on the list. I don't think I got through them all, but we're taught not to cry and to keep our emotions in. And it's not normal for us. We'll do it. You'll find we'll do it at the beginning of the relationship. We'll say, yeah, I'm doing great, honey. How you doing? But we don't want to do it.
Right.
And again, if you look to a man, how would he and his best friend do it? They'd say, dude, I'll meet you at 7:30. All right. Don't look like crap this time. Yep. Got it. Bye. So back to how we love. We don't love like you guys. We don't say, yes, we'll say I love you, but it doesn't really mean as much as our actions. When we love a woman, we do it by chivalry. We do it by protecting you. Restaurant pulling the chair out. Like I say, chivalry. Spending, if you're sick, staying home with you, moving furniture, cutting the lawn, taking the trash out. I mean, I know that's about as romantic, flowers, take the trash out. But if you understand and again, accept it, that he's telling you by fixing this thing or getting it to a place where it will be fixed, your car, He's telling you, I love you. And when I explain it to women, and again, they accept it, they like, wow. And then they appreciate what they're doing. And then the I love yous can come from a man much easier. So there's a little tidbit there that we just love in different ways. And we do it through our actions and through our muscles and our providing and things that aren't romantic necessarily. But we're there for you. And that's a good, I've got all these tests, to find out whether a man is, I call them a wet lion, or a wet kitten or a lion. You want to date lions, not wet kittens, and wet kittens are, but that's another one. But so knowing how we love is very important. And again, if you understand it and listen and accept it, then the arguments, just think of all those arguments that might have just disappeared right there. That okay, I'm not going to text them all day long. And actually, that's a good thing, because we get bored very easy. And if you stop texting us all day long, all of a sudden we want to know what's up. We'll start texting you. So you're almost applying how a guy treats a guy to your own persona and treat him back. And it's just very interesting. Yeah.
So what I'm hearing is, because I've said this before, is to watch a man's actions. It's not so much about his words. And I'm not just talking about in the love language part. I'm talking about in all aspects of a relationship.
Sure.
His actions mean more than his words, right?
Absolutely. I always say women, when they're going to go online dating for the first time or something, here's a great test. Set up a day date, okay?
Mm-hmm.
The day date gets rid of all the guys that think they're going to get some action in, on a Saturday night. You'll see the players always tend to gravitate for a Friday or Saturday night date. Try a morning coffee or a lunch date. And if they won't go to that, then just move on. And I don't care if he's got, if he's 6'4" with blue eyes and an English accent, he's got to fit these little criteria, these tests through his actions and not his words. But this also goes deep in a relationship. If a woman is 3 years living with a guy and she's looking for the ring, how many times do I hear this? And she's wondering what she's doing wrong. Because she'll say, oh, he says, I love you. He even bought me the ring. I've talked to guys that will go that far, buy the ring just to buy more time. And, it's the actions. You've got to look at his actions and put him through a series of tests. I'm not a believer in living together, not religious wise, but I would never let a man come into my, if I'm a woman, come into my house and live with me. Because that's now you're giving him his cake and eating it too. Why does he want to get married? He's having fun. He doesn't need the ring. He can come and go in his mind anytime. So you just don't let it get to that point. I love when women will say, oh, I got my own drawer. I say, never go for your own drawer. Never, never go for your own drawer at a guy's house. Just say.
Why is that?
Well, I always say when the guy said, and he'll push for it. Guys will push for it. I've done that before. Make a little drawer for the woman to, because he's drawing her in. And not that he's trying to trick her necessarily. He actually believes that this is, advancing and all. But the best thing for a woman to do is say, no, I don't want any drawer. When you and I are, whatever you want out of the relationship. When you and I are exclusive and or married, then I'll be happy to take that drawer, honey. And then, you go. You know what I mean? There's time limits to everything.
Right.
And so you've got to put guys on time limits. And if they don't perform through their actions, goodbye. You move on.
But I just want to make something very clear, because I don't think you're saying this, though. You're not saying give a man an ultimatum, though, right?
No, I'm not saying ultimatum.
I know. Clarify that, because I think some women are thinking he means ultimatum. No, that's not what he means.
Correct. But think about what I just said, though. An ultimatum, believe it or not, the one time an ultimatum works is from a position of power.
Right.
So if you and I are dating and I want to give you a drawer and say, hey, Suzanne, let's have a drawer, type of thing. I'm asking you to, take another step with me. You're saying no. Maybe someday when we get married, honey, I'll take that drawer. So it's not, you're sort of planting the seed, but you're in a position from power here. It's not the other way around. Like, can I have this drawer? I'm here every, totally different.
It changes the dynamic completely.
Perfect. You worded that so much better than me, which is often the case with women, right? But, right. So from a position of power, I always say, if an ultimatum is to happen, it can. And a lot of times when a guy breaks up and wants to, get back, okay, you're in a position of power now, okay? Hopefully you've done the things that I've said, you've rebuilt your confidence, you've got that social life going, you've got those hobbies and passions, you're interesting, you've got options, and now it's very easy to say, okay, yeah, we'll get back together, but this is how it's gonna be, boom, 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 boom. And you do it with a smile. And then all of a sudden he's like, okay, I better step up my game or I'm out.
Right.
So it's, but you're right. There's a fine line between the ultimatum from a position of non-power, from a position of things aren't going well, I want to be closer, and that just kills it. It just kills it for guys,
right.
So, but I don't want to, it's so easy to say games, because I'll get that a lot, and I need to clarify, it's not, it's just more about understanding men and getting what you want out of them. And I don't want to say manipulate, because it's not. It's just a win-win situation. And let's just take appreciation and winning. One more example. If I'm, we got a house together and there's a big lawn and the backyard's gonna, has to be cut because the kids are gonna have a sleepover. I'm just making this stuff. Sleepover, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm cutting the front lawn because I'm supposed to cut the front lawn, and I stop for whatever reason. And a lot of women will come out and, yell, Greg, what, you didn't cut the side lawns, you didn't cut the back lawn, we're having a sleepover Saturday night, you got to get that done, and then just, leave. So what incentive do I have to cut that back lawn? I just got bitched out. Okay, I want appreciation. And again, this is a simple little thing, and I didn't get it. So what I really want to do is just sit on the couch longer and watch football and crack a beer. Now, again, if the same thing happened and the woman, my wife, girlfriend came out and said, Greg, you did an awesome job on that front lawn. You didn't kill my lilies. I'm going to grab some lemonade. Can you get the back, let's get the back lawn done too, and just think about this. And I know this is very simple. It's almost ridiculous. But now I feel appreciated. Now I won. See, I just won in this moment. Go back to your list, your conveyor belt to manhood. Mm-hmm. I just won. So it's like, whoa, I'm going to get some lemonade, and, I did a good job here, and I got, I'll do the side lawn, the back lawn, hell, I'll do the neighbor's lawn. But, so a little tweak, the same situation, avoided contempt and a fight, because that's what you would have gotten out of me, contempt. And instead of one chink in the armor of heading towards divorce, you've got a, something much better, an experience heading towards staying together permanently, So, which I call pennies in the jar, which are, positive memories, positive experiences. That's another book, Pennies in the Jar.
Well, I think the difference in those two examples that you gave is the first example was almost like the mother reprimanding her son for not doing what she told him to do.
Right.
And then the second one was, and the way you did it was praising him for what he's done. And now could you do just a little bit more because you did such a great job on that?
Exactly. Exactly. And it sounds almost childlike. But when these things, you got to remember, you have to put this in perspective. This could happen 5 times a day.
Right.
I can screw up so many times, and you know how bad men can screw up. But if you can just find the good with what I did, and give me that appreciation, and it's just amazing. Now those 5 things turn into 5 good experiences for me. And now I'm on my way to happiness. I'm on my way. You know, every day I'm getting another affirmation that I did good, and I will improve on it. You know,
Exactly.
you can even take this to the bedroom now. I mean, you know, we're so remember I said winning, you know, that also means in the bedroom, we want to please, we want to provide, but rejection on the other hand, and there isn't a bigger area of rejection for men than the bedroom. You know,
Right.
again, we were brought up thinking we can please any woman we want. That's our status. And when, you know, we all know very well, you know, most guys suck in the bedroom, you know. But so a woman has to be very careful. And again, wording that experience, you know, like, you know, honey, that's great, you know, just a little bit lower. I mean, that's the way to do it versus, you know, ouch, you know, what are you doing, you know? And it kills us. I mean, I can't tell you how hurtful that is to most men.
Well, and
So,
also, I always try to make my followers realize things by seeing things in the reverse. So if we were in the bedroom and we were with a man and we were doing something and he said, "Oh, what are you doing?" We would be like mortified. We'd be like, "Oh my God, that's horrible." We would feel horrible. It would probably shut us down. And it's the same for men. And women have to realize that certain times when we say things the way we do, it can just shut men down. And so I always tell women that, you know, lead with the good. Like, "Oh, I really like that." And you're going to laugh. One of the analogies that I use, and let's see if you agree with this.
oh, good. I need the more analogy. I love it.
Okay.
But
Is
yeah,
that men are like dogs, really. If they're doing something good and you praise them, they'll keep doing it
you
and
know,
you're getting more of that.
I'm glad you said that because I use that a lot. I say we are very trainable. We are trainable like dogs.
Yeah.
And it sounds terrible, and I'm going to get the hate mail from.
No, because it's only women in my audience. If you had men,
Okay, yeah,
then
no,
you would
that's true.
get
Right. We're only on a woman summit, so I can say it. But we are. Give us a little biscuit. You know, give us a little
true.
biscuit. Give us biscuits all day long, and you'll be amazed at how trainable we are. But especially in the early going, you need to make us feel. We want to think that we are Tarzan here, and we're the only guy that can please you, provide for you. As soon as we're neutralized and we think that, you know, we are just equal to another man out there, we lose our mojo. We lose it all, and then we might break up with you, and you've done nothing wrong other than you don't understand how I communicate, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So we can go down the list. I mean, it's literally every problem you have with a guy,
Mm-hmm.
you can pick off that list and find out, okay, what am I missing here? What am I missing here? Okay, he just lost his job. Okay, whoa. So now I know to support him. Be there for him. Don't try to fix. Here's another big one, although I don't think this is a secret, but don't ever try to fix a guy's problems. You just cannot do it. Say, especially when it comes to money and, you know, financials. Be there for him. Let him withdraw. It's not your fault. Don't try to fix it because he needs to get through it. He needs to fix it. And really go do your own thing. And I don't care whether you're just dating someone or you're full-blown relationship. You need to give him his space. He will come to you. And he will talk to you about it. And he might even want your ideas, but it's got to be on his level. And again, that is super, super important. When women, and it's a beautiful thing, women just want to nurture, they want to help, they want to fix, they want to give ideas. And when a guy is stuck, he didn't get that raise, he is going to just, you know, rip you because you're the closest person. And it's very important to not let that conflict happen and back off. That's why I always say, keep that social, keep those hobbies and passions going. So when your guy, I call it going rogue, when the guy goes rogue for whatever reason, he's just not the man he was or you know him to be. That's when you disperse, just like he would,
Mm-hmm.
and go to your, it's a man cave, I call it chick retreat. But, go join your girlfriends and he will love you for it. He will withdraw. He'll be much better the next day. Now, obviously, there are extremes. Obviously, this doesn't fit into every mold. If addiction, drugs, alcohol, you shouldn't be dating, someone that's, uh, heavily involved with that before when you just meet him. Obviously, if something happened along the way, you're going to stand by him. But I want you to know that I'm generalizing in some cases, but there are always some exceptions. So.
No, exactly. Well, these have been some great tips. And one thing I just have to add, because you've said this throughout the interview, and I really want women to understand this point because it's really important, is, Greg, you talked about how women have to accept this. And one of the biggest mistakes that I see a lot of women make is they meet a man, they think he's great, except for whatever it is, and they try to change a man. And Greg, can you just elaborate a little bit more on how that's a big mistake to try and change a man instead of just accepting him for who he is?
That is an awesome point. It's funny. You've got to qualify what the change is. Now this comes down to, what you want out of a man, and you've got to have your lists. I always say you should be, it's funny how women choose, your shoes, your clothes, your makeup, and yet you'll be chosen by a man. You'll let yourself be chosen by a man, which is just amazes me. You should choose your men. But coming down to trying to change, you just can't change a guy. You can tweak things, but he's got to fit at least those. And again, I come down to this wet kitten, which is guys you just do not date, okay? If they have no job, they're couch potatoes, they're, again, and, not to insult everyone here, but if they're living, in the basement at 35, I'm sorry, something's got to give here. Now, if he's a little bit messy, you're probably not going to change that. Toilet seat, okay, we can compromise here. Kids, huge. Does he want to have kids? Really want to have kids? And you do? Then it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how good looking he is. Don't think you're going to change him, because you're probably not going to. So I'm with you. You can only change so much. With what I'm saying in man mode and everything, what I'm talking about, I've got guys to change a lot more than they normally would because they're so deeply in love. It's like, whoa, all right, I can handle this, if this makes her happy, So how strong your relationship is directly related to, in my opinion, how much you can change a man. But generally speaking, you are correct. Do not go in there thinking you're going to change a man, especially before he is fallen in love.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, these have been some amazing tips. And I know, Greg, you think some of these things are obvious to women. And I could tell you straight from a woman is that they're not all obvious. I didn't learn a lot of these things until probably 10 or 20 years ago.
Yeah.
So, ladies, he really gave you some awesome secrets today. So, Greg, I would love, you have a free gift for our audience. Can you tell them about it?
Yes. So my team and I, we put together this infographic. So it's called Man Mode. And what you're going to find inside it is a lot of what I talked about today in the form of an infographic. And it sort of connects all the dots to what I'm saying, because I know I was all over the place a little bit today. But get the infographic. You're going to like it. And you can stick it on your wall and just relate to it on a regular basis, like, ooh, there we go. That's what I got to be doing. That's what happened in this scenario. So I think you'll really like it. And it's brand new and, called Man Mode. So, yeah.
That's awesome. And that'll help the ladies understand men even better, right?
Yes, exactly.
Great. Well, ladies, just click on the link on this page for the free gift. And thank you so much, Greg, for joining us today. You've been amazing, and you've been so generous with all your great tips about men.
Oh, I mean, this is absolutely exciting to me. So I'm just honored to be your guest. Yes.
Great. And thank you, ladies, so much for joining us on the Secrets About Men Summit.